Oh, you've seen the dynamic, I'm sure, that there is this virtuous redistricting from time to time, this tactical use of redistricting areas to make sure that voters are well represented, that there's equality or maybe even equity. And it's a peaceful exercise that's taken through thoughtfully, with great sobriety, nonpartisan, no. Politico talked about this. Politico ran a story. This was their headline. Democrats try to separate their tactical use of redistricting from that of Republicans. Tactical use. And right there on the cover is a picture of J.B. Pritzker. He's the dictator of Illinois. He was the dictator of Illinois during one of the most, tactical or maybe strategic or maybe complete redistricting of any state in the country. But the Politico also had a different view. And this is when Republicans were doing this. Ready for this? This is from March 3rd or March 14th, 2023. The other one from just this year. Here we go. Republicans are ready to plow ahead with ambitious gerrymandering despite previous reprimands from state courts, now that they've elected judges who are less likely to thwart their plan. What's that like to work in an organization like that? That masquerades as a news organization? What's it like to know that you switch out the players and the terminology based upon who's doing what? What's it like to publish that and know that people like me are going to grab that and point to that and have all sorts of fun talking about that? What's it like to take an organization like the Politico and rub its face so far in its own filth that it can't look up and see anything but its own filth? Do you know what the Politico does? One of the things their business model entails? They have these get-togethers where they have super important people like J.B. Pritzker and Hillary Rodham Clinton come in and speak, and they go up on a stage and they get interviewed by one of the really robust journalists with the Politico, and they ask tough questions. And you can pay $1,500 to $3,000, maybe $5,000 to attend. Why? Well, because you get to sit at a table with other very important people. Maybe even get an opportunity to meet some of these incredibly important people like J.B. Pritzker. So the Politico pockets that money. And guess what? They're not lobbyists. They're not setting up a meeting between you and a politician. They would never do that because they're journalists, as evidenced by how they cover redistricting. In 2022, J.B. Pritzker passed one of the most partisan gerrymandered maps in history.
The controversy has shined a spotlight on Illinois' congressional map. As a candidate, Governor Pritzker vowed to veto redistricting drawn by legislators or their staffs, but he went on to approve a map that gave his party a 14-3 advantage in the congressional delegation.
The fact that Governor Pritzker is inserting himself in what's going on in Texas is the height of hypocrisy. He broke his promise to Illinois voters, not once but twice, in signing the most gerrymandered map in the nation.
When he did this, of course, it was the virtuous type, and Republicans need to catch on to this. There's virtuous racism. The Democrats are the authors of virtuous racism. If you're using racism to keep disgusting, stinking whites out of going to Harvard, or disgusting, stinking Asian men from going to Harvard, well, that's virtuous racism. However, if you're suggesting that black people should be held to the same laws and requirements of other people, well, then that's the disgusting form of racism. In the separate countries like Seattle, they've taken this approach of doing away with any and all AP advanced placement classes. They've done this because not enough black kids were getting into the advanced placement courses. That is virtuous racism, because you're saying black kids can't be expected to go raise their own standards. We can't have help with the families. We can't recognize that there's a family structure problem. We can't look at this data and say, my goodness, what can we do to help black people? Nope, just make the problem go away. That's virtuous racism. And virtuous redistricting is where you have this very, very tactical idea of you just going to balance the seats out. Joe Biden issued an executive order. It was Executive Order 13986 on day one of his presidency. And this was a very virtuous act. It was to take illegal immigrants and to count them in the census. So here's a way to look at this that might be helpful. If you were to take all the people who snuck into, let's say, an event and count them as having paid to get into the event, how would that work? Let's say it's the Super Bowl. Let's say you sell 100,000 seats to the Super Bowl, and you're reporting back to your folks that this is how many seats were filled. And they're looking at this and saying, okay, so the seats average cost was $300. We should be looking at 30 million in revenue here. What do we have? About $10,000. What? Yeah, a bunch of people snuck in. Wait, you counted them? Well, sure. Yeah, I mean, they're at the game. Well, but they didn't pay to get in. Right, but they were there, so it was a huge success. Take this to concert tours. You think the Rolling Stones would be very, very happy if their management came along and told them, hey, Mick, Keith, and the rest of the guys who are down in the band, who's still in the band as original? It's Mick, it's Keith. Is Ron Wood still in there? I think Ron Wood's still in there. Then there's like two other guys. Charlie Watts died, God rest him. And then Bill Wyman doesn't tour anymore. So if they went back to the three original members and said, guys, congratulations, we sold out Madison Square Garden. Here's your $50,000. Mick would sue them. Mick has he pursued a degree in an MBA. Did you know that? That was what he was studying to be, was a master's in business. Well, no, a bunch of people snuck in. Joe Biden passed a redistricting order, and not a redistricting order, but who passed this order, this executive order to count illegals in the census. What I love about this is I'm about to play a clip, and it's not from someone in the conservative media space. It's not from someone on the Blaze or someone you've heard of. It's a cat with a handheld mic making a commentary that has now become common sense understanding in the United States of America.
At 4 a.m. this morning, Donald Trump posted on Truth Social. His post said that they are currently working on redoing the United States Census. And under new rules, illegal immigrants will not be counted in that census. This means that Democrats could potentially lose up to 30 seats. So when the Democrats rushed all these illegal immigrants to their sanctuary cities, they increased the number of people that live there, increasing their number of seats. But if all the illegal immigrants were removed, then the number of people that live there would massively decrease, decreasing their number of seats. Donald Trump were to eliminate all illegal immigrants from the census, gerrymandering wouldn't be needed for Democrats to lose those seats. But based on the data, the Democrats have actually gained about 30 seats for packing illegal immigrants into their Democrat districts and then doing a census right after.
That wasn't tactical, that was strategic. It was a virtual population bomb, and the job was, of course, to destroy the Electoral College count. There was no article in the Politico about that. Was that gerrymandering? Yes, it was gerrymandering the entire country. It was gerrymandering the entire count in Congress. So the selective treatment of this, the virtuous acts of Joe Biden, it was virtuous. After all, illegal immigrants are in the country. After all, they live here. After all, they affect government services. They should be counted. When President Trump comes along with a countervailing point of view, well, they're not supposed to be here. They're not using resources. They're illegally using resources they're not supposed to have. They shouldn't be counted in the census because they're not even supposed to be here. You can go back and make the same comparisons to things like the Rolling Stones concerts or the NFL football game, the Super Bowl. It doesn't work one way. Why does it work the other? Because we're playing the game of virtue versus plowing ahead. There's things you'll discover through time, and you'll discover that there's a lot of things that are treated as virtuous, which are very, very scandalous. For instance, they will treat as virtuous in this country that they pretend to use the same form of stem cells that I've had in my body 3 times, once in my back, and praise God for that. I can't even believe how effective this has been. I'm in month 6, and I can go out and deadlift now on pretty high reps, weights that were causing my back to click and hurt. And I maxed out for the first time in probably 2 years, and the weight I lifted was something I've been struggling to lift. I'm going to get back up to 400 and 450 pounds in my 60s, and I'm doing that as well as doing CrossFit. I couldn't have done that without the stem cells from Renew. You've heard me talk about these, and you've heard me talk about how it's different than what happens in America. They are higher quality because they know the people they take them from. They count and track the health of the women and the babies during pregnancy and after, and they take these things straight from the hospital, that is the umbilical cords, right down into their lab. I'm putting on a free live webinar with these guys September 11th. It's 11 Pacific. And you can join. It's joinstemcelltalks.com. Go there and sign up. You'll be entered to win a free week stay at Hotel Mio in Puerto Vallarta. It's actually Nueva Vallarta, right near Puerto Vallarta. Beautiful hotel I've stayed at twice. When you attend the webinar, you also get to ask questions in advance so you can talk about your case. Some of the doctors are going to be there. Some of the patients are going to be there, and I'm going to be there. Go to joinstemcelltalks.com and go learn what you don't know about what the medical system in America is pretending to be the same thing as what goes on in Mexico. It's joinstemcelltalks.com. Gavin Newsom, he wants to play this game, and his whole role in life right now is Gavin Newsom is begging to be attacked by President Trump. And sometimes President Trump plays along. Gavin Newsom came out with this statement that was very Trumpian written. He's going to have this big announcement. It's going to end Trump's political career, etc. He's trying to play the true social game. He's begging Donald Trump to pay attention to him because Gavin Newsom intends to run for president, this time for real. He is having a very difficult time, though, in being anything other than a clown show that everybody can observe as a clown show.
Illinois, they might as well start voting in Illinois.
Well, let me ask you just this final question, sir, as a bigger picture item, which is what's unusual about this is that you're attempting to do it in 2025 as opposed to waiting till the end of the decade, as normally is when the redistricting takes place. You've explained the Supreme Court decision that led you to do this. But what's going on, obviously, is not happening in Texas. It's not happening in a vacuum. We have Democrats in California and New York and other states saying, well, if Governor Abbott does this in Texas, we're going to add 5 Democratic seats. Are you not worried at all about a redistricting, gerrymandering arms race going on? And theoretically, is it not just better for voters to be picking their politicians instead of politicians to be picking their voters through gerrymandering?
Well, to be clear, listen, all those big blue states, they've already gerrymandered. Look at the map of Illinois. Look at the map of California, New York, and Massachusetts, and so many other blue states. They gerrymandered a long time ago. They got nothing left with regard to what they can do. And know this, if California tries to gerrymander 5 more districts, listen, Texas has the ability to eliminate 10 Democrats in our state. We can play that game more than they can because they have fewer Republican districts in their states.
Texas Governor Greg Abbott, don't be a stranger. Thanks for popping by. Really appreciate it.
Ideally, the district would work like this. Ideally, it would work along geographic barriers. Natural geographic barriers. Here's a river. Here's a road. Here's an area. Here's an income strata. Here's some natural barriers. Ideally, it would be balanced out that way. You would take the population and you divide it by the number of seats, and then you would fill it out so that you had this equal representation. Ideally, that would happen. We are a fallen people in a fallen world, and the sin issues of coveting and theft and lording power over others exists, which takes us right back to the Politico. They have been given the opportunity to use words. God invented free speech. He has also invented accountability for it. I put the weight more on the Politico and the Mockingbird media than the politicians because, of course, politicians are going to seek to serve themselves unless, of course, they repent and truly follow Jesus.